welcome to Sugoi Central. My name's Ryan.
Hey, it's me, Mysti.
And recently, Pokemon had celebrated its 20th anniversary since the original Red and Green that came out, and along with it came a new announcement for a new series called Pokemon Sun and Moon. So we thought we'd go over it, what we currently know, what's been told to us, and what we expect from them.
Yep. Seems like, I myself included, it's a little sad that we probably won't be seeing Pokemon Z because they've confirmed this is the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it's still possible that a lot of the stuff we wanted from Pokemon Z is going to come out of these, so I can't be too upset.
One thing as well is that we don't have too much to go on at this point because obviously the announcement was only a little while ago and they only revealed little parts, so we've only got a few screenshots to talk about and whatnot. But
yeah, the video itself was only a few minutes long, so they didn't fit very much information there. But
it was really good though because it kind of pointed out when the years came, years when the games came out and whatnot.
So they did give us some screenshots and behind the scenes footage and pictures of things. We'll make sure to include that so you guys can see what we're seeing as well. The first one here goes over what looks like a few different vehicles, emergency vehicles or just a pickup truck as well.
Mm-hmm.
And two of them have some Pokemon in them.
So is that a Machoke? It looks like a Machoke or Machamp maybe.
I believe it's a Machoke and possibly a Furfrou. I can't tell 100%. In the back, maybe it's helping them move, kind of like the Machokes did in Oraz.
Mm.
And then you've also got that fire truck in the bottom corner, which has a Blastoise sitting in the lift area to probably, put out the fires, which makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
So I'm and there's an ambulance. There's no Pokemon involved with that. I'm assuming that's an ambulance at least.
It looks like one.
Mm-hmm. And it's like a Pokeball in the back, so maybe some sort of emergency, oh, my Pokemon got injured out and about, so it takes them to the Pokemon Center, which is interesting because I don't think they've ever had something like that before.
It's a new concept, so
yeah. But I do hope, especially with the Blastoise, I do hope this is a sign of maybe seeing Pokemon integrated into the human world a bit more.
It does suit as well being with the fire service, considering it has gigantic flipping cannons on the side. And it's I wonder if it mega evolves and has the even bigger cannon.
True, yeah. There's not much to go off of after that on that one, but next we have what looks like probably is going to be the new Pokemon Center design. I think it looks kind of interesting. Looks like a Pokeball on the top. It's more of a round design to it. I mean, again, not a lot to go off of here, but I mean, it looks nice.
It's Pokemon Center after all.
Yeah.
We're all going to go and use it for 10 seconds to heal Pokemon and then off on our way. Unless, of course, they keep the merge system of having Pokemon Center and the Pokemon in the same area. But...
yeah, I'll be curious to see if they keep that. In Oraz, they kind of went back to the old ways because, Ruby and Sapphire were like that. So...
The next one kind of looks like it could be the bird. As you know, with every single one, there's always a bird evolution stage that's always there.
Yeah.
Looks like a Fletchling, to be honest. Or
It looks a little bit like one. I think its head's a little bit differently shaped, but I actually, when I initially watched the video, I thought it was a Torchic. But looking back at these, I have no idea why I thought that. But it does seem like it might be the first route bird, like they always have. The back of its head on the second image here seems like it kind of looks like its head might have a bit of a moon shape to it. So that could be going with the whole sun and moon theme.
That making it exclusive
crescent
to moon, probably.
Yeah. So my guess would maybe we'd be seeing potentially another flying dark type.
Dark flying type's probably one of the because Honchkrow is one of my favourites. It's one of the best dark flying types.
There's only a few Pokemon that are that typing. I guess you've got Yveltal as well, but I think it's just the Honchkrow line, and then I can't remember that one vulture Pokemon. I can't
is it Mandibuzz?
Mandibuzz, there you go, Mandibuzz. Yeah, I think those are the only ones. I could be mistaken though. But yeah, it'll be cool to see another starter route flying type that's not just normal flying.
Yep.
Next we got some sort of like water-based mansion building place.
We were kind of, because you kind of thought it might be an aquarium and or a gym. It could be because I mean, again, we've not got much to work on, but from what it looks like to me, especially from the Pokeballs just outside the building, like the stands of Pokeballs just outside it, the two of them, I thought it might be a gym or something.
It could be. It's really big for a gym, but it could be. Could be like say, yeah, like aquarium. Could be some sort of like museum, mansion, academy. I don't know, but it's definitely got some sort of water theme to it. And it's got a lot of nice architecture, as well as like some palm trees on the side there too. So potentially like maybe a resort. Maybe like that has to do with the region. Maybe it's just this one location. I'm not sure. The last shot here is just a few like pictures of what looks like interiors of maybe like Pokemon centers and marts on a board. The one that has some more of a brown look to it at the bottom, it kind of reminds me of a cafe, but like trying to look at the symbol on the sign, it looks more like it might have a shopping bag to it. So maybe this will be where you buy clothes.
Maybe it could be like a food. You're saying about the like it could be like a food court or something.
Yeah, that as well. I'm thinking it's either like some kind of like food court, cafe place, just for flavor, or like I said, like potentially maybe where you buy clothes because of the little handbag that symbol that seems to be on the sign.
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but you know, it would be nice to see the clothes return. Going back to like what like 6th Gen introduced, that, you know, I do hope that we see a continuation of Pokemon and Me, maybe a little bit more depth to that as well, not just simply petting and playing yarn games with them.
Well, I remember when Soul Silver and Heart Gold came out and they had the Pokemon follow. I mean, that'd be a cool concept to explore, and you know, it's kind of upgraded. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of like that was the 4th Gen version of it, and technology's evolved. Maybe they can get something even cooler in there now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to see Pokemon Following You return, and as long as they probably would need to make new like overworld sprites for every single Pokemon to do that, but I mean that would be a very appreciated feature by almost everyone. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Because
it's not like a pixel based world anymore. I guess I kind of understand why they didn't do that right away in 6th Gen. Because it would be, like, if they want to keep, like, the ratios looking normal, you know, you're going to have, like, if you have an Onix, you're going to have this giant rock snake following you around.
You got Rayquaza above you. That just looks strange as hell.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like it would be pretty simple to avoid any complications with that. Like, if you're going into an area where that Pokemon is just far too large to fit, a message could come up and, like, saying that you have to return your Pokemon before going in here or something. I feel like it wouldn't be that difficult to work in something to make it to remove all the potential oddities of having a really large or obscure Pokemon following you.
I mean, if the how large would be a problem, you could kind of put a limitation on what Pokemon you can bring out. Maybe
that's true. Even if it was like just a few hundred. That could follow you. Yeah, I'm sure even that would be very appreciated by a lot of people. You're not
having flipping God Pokemon Arceus behind you because that'd be strange having God follow you.
That would turn a lot of heads probably. And then like I said, like seeing the custom clothes return. Keep that in, and it was so nice being able to like really like customize your trainer, even if it did sort of make Callum and Serena as like default characters kind of less, people got less attached to them as they did some of the previous trainers, because they would always just change their look. So even if it's gated until close to the end of the game, then I think that I would still like to see it come back.
I think customization is a very big advantage to a game, though. So giving you the ability just to kind of change and kind of suit it to what you'd like it to be instead of being a generic. Because you can play both sides. Obviously, you're saying that people would attach them if they had a set style. But if you could customize it, you could fit it to the person you are. So wear a silly hat or whatever.
Yeah. Overall, I think continue building on how much you can customize your character, or some kind of like secret-based room type thing, like an Oraz. All the, building on any of that kind of stuff. That's always appreciated, and I would love to see that from this game.
I would too. Something else though I'd like to see is in the recent gen that came out. Something I'd like to see is because recently what happened was when the starters came out, they all had different types that you hadn't seen. So you had like grass fighting, you had water dark, you had fire side, and I'd love for them to continue that trend of there being new types and new. Because I mean, I love Infernape and I love Blaziken and Bark and Disappear, but having the same generic firefighting or just same old grass or whatever kind of wore itself thin a little bit. So adding an extra type, I think, always gives an extra benefit. So say something ridiculous like, I don't know, grass dark, and that's not really ridiculous because shifter is actually one. But you know what I mean? Kind of adding new typings and whatnot. It's always a nice thing to have.
Yeah, I especially hope we see potentially one of the starters being a fairy type, being our first like blank fairy.
Fire fairy is probably what they'd go for, I reckon.
I do think that would be an interesting one. In general, the starters and all the other Pokemon, if they continue with the same level of design quality they had in X and Y for these new ones, maybe just hopefully more than what we got last time.
Yeah.
I would be really happy because there was only a very small handful of the Pokemon I didn't really care for introduced in 6th Gen. So seeing that continue into this will be really great and give us a lot more Pokemon to love. We'll be like above 800 now. Hopefully, as long as they give us at least 80.
Well, a good thing about it as well is that when the 6th Gen came out, we kind of all probably have, like, every time 3 starters come up, we always have one that we have an affinity for, like, instantly straight away. So, like, Infernape, etc., etc., etc. But when this came up, there was 3 different choices that all sounded pretty good that you'd never seen before. And I kind of think having that sort of dilemma where you're thinking, I'd love to play that, but I'd love to have that, and that may potentially either make you want to restart the game or get the new one, get the other game, and then play through it with a different starter.
I've actually, at first with 6th Gen, I kind of liked Fennekin more, but eventually, after seeing like Frogadier and Greninja, I went all in on Froakie. But every single gen, I've tended to preferred the water type Pokemon starters. So it'll be interesting to see if 7th Gen is the one that tests, like, if that trend continues or
test
not.
the boundary.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they'd actually add the, because for people who don't know the anime, they added this Ash Greninja thing, which is basically, it kind of looks like it would be a Mega Evolution. Do you reckon they'd add that?
I don't know if it'll be a Mega Evolution or not, at least hope it wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a distribution of it, and it's just sort of like a special alt skin for Greninja that you can only get through that distribution. I would be a little bit surprised if it was something that you can just get, like everyone can just get in the main games, but we'll see. Ash Greninja, maybe, but the alternate Zygarde forms haven't been confirmed for anything quite in the games yet. Just the movie.
The 50% ones and whatnot, the cores, etc.
Yeah, that is something I hope gets built upon in these new games, because we kind of all thought that that's what was going to be part of the point of Z. But now with this, it's like, is that just going to be left in the dust for just the anime, or are they going to build on that? And I hope they do.
It seems like they've kind of skipped over Z at this current moment in time. Maybe that's because of the 20th anniversary, or whether they didn't have plans for it. But
it's also possible that, like, this maybe it's wishful or big thinking, but I feel like there's a lot of signs pointing to the fact that maybe these games will have some kind of relation to Kalos in some fashion, because Zygarde is a Kalos Pokemon. That's where he was introduced. He was in that cave, and they still haven't talked about the alternate forms. So if they do that in this game, maybe that'll be because, like, you can go to maybe at least a section of Kalos, if not the whole region, like you could in Gold and Silver, where there was 2 regions.
Well, I think that's a good point to mention, actually, is the after game system is always something that kind of, because once you get past the traditional 8 badges and then the Elite Four and the having an extra. I think having an extra region to do or have some form of that, like the Battlefront here, is always a good thing to add because it keeps people wanting to play. Because if you don't have anything like that, once you finish the game, you're either going to be, if you're a competitive battler, try and get your competitive team, or just kind of stop playing.
Oraz did an okay job with that, with the Delta episode.
And the 26 legendaries or whatever it was available.
yeah. Oraz did a pretty good job of that. X and Y really did not, though. X and Y had the Looker case story in Lumios, and that was about it. Like, everything else is just kind of like working on your teams and maybe going to get, like, Mewtwo and Zygarde if you hadn't gotten them after the... Oh, and I guess the legendary bird as well. You can also pursue that.
Yeah.
Good post-game material, possibly including Kalos, which would bring up a lot of like the unanswered questions of the Zygarde forms. Another one is the fact that we have like Volcanion's been officially announced at this point, but there's been no distribution of it yet, and they've already announced these games, as well as the fact that like it's definitely a 6th gen Pokemon. It was introduced in it was in the data of the 6th gen games, but like it's gonna be in the new movie with Magearna, who looks like it's going to be one of the first Pokemon from this current generation.
It's probably the same concept as like when stuff like Lucario was from the 4th gen, but in a 3rd gen movie, etc.
Is that the case? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because when Legendary Mystery of Mew came out, that was during the Hoenn arc, which is the 3rd gen, and Lucario's part of the 4th gen.
Yeah. Magearna itself is another reason why I'm wondering if there's going to be some kind of connection between the two regions, because it's very mechanical looking Pokemon, and the bottom half of it very, very much looks like a Pokeball, and the Pokeball factory was in Kalos. So potentially Magearna has something to do with the Pokemon factory or that area.
Well, I personally think that having Kalos as an extra region in the game would just add so much more to it instead of taking this. That's the concept about having the after game being so good is that it keeps you there and keeps you. So if there wasn't answered questions like you were pointing out about Zygarde, etc., adding them in the next generation, I think is, if you're not going to have a Pokemon Z or Z, however you pronounce it, then I think doing it in the next gen is perfectly fine.
I think so too. Whether Kalos is included or not, as long as there is a strong post game that does maybe address some of the unanswered things that we wanted from Z version, I'll be fine with it. But having a second region like you did in Gold and Silver does add so much on its own. And
then having to face Red at the top.
Oh yeah. Bring Red back. That would be something that would be probably very wishful thinking, but I would love to see Red come back.
It'd be cool as well if you had like champion, like, because Cynthia made an appearance in, was it Black and White 2? Or was it Black and White?
I don't know.
It was one of the two, and then kind of having maybe something like that, like crossovers from other games, making them come to the new region would be quite a cool concept.
That would be cool, and because of how they presented the game in the trailer, and like talking about all the previous games building up to this one, and it all comes together here, that's not actually as far-fetched as you might think, because pun slightly intended. Because maybe it's going to include like references and characters from all of these other games leading up to the 20th anniversary with Sun and Moon. So yeah, maybe we'll see trainers like Cynthia come back. Maybe that does mean Red's not as, out there of an idea as you would initially expect.
Well, I mean, because it does seem like at this point they are skipping Z because it's going to be the 20th anniversary. So I kind of think if you have time, by the way, go and check out the trailer and see that, because the way they reveal it is they reveal, like, when the original came out in 96 and 99, etc., all the years, and then it goes 2016, Sun and Moon. So I kind of think there must be some sort of, I think there must be some sort of connection in the way they've done it, but remains to be seen. Again, we don't have much information to go on, unfortunately, in the moment.
I guess the last kind of big point to talk about would be the fact that with these, with the releases of the Virtual Console ports of Red, Blue, and Yellow and Green, you can now, through the Pokemon Bank, you'll be able to like trade up Pokemon from those games all the way up to Sun and Moon.
Oh yeah, that was an extra thing mentioned, wasn't it? Because they never had a way to get the first gen Pokemon up to your newer games, so
it'll be interesting to see how that works, because back in the first gen you didn't have the physical the special split, special attack and special defense had not happened yet. There are no abilities in that one, nor natures, so those, and I'm assuming they're not going to just opt out of giving the Pokemon you transfer a nature and an ability, so there'll probably be some kind of default that has to be applied to them, which will be interesting to see. As well as the fact that for a few Pokemon there's some moves that adds to their pool that they couldn't get before, like Bubble Beam for Nidoking and Nidoqueen, Fissure for Machamp.
That's another good point as well, is that because once you transfer from the original to the newer games, the moveset has completely changed, or in some form of way, whether it's what level, etc., how they're going to work that as well.
I'm also, from what I've heard, they haven't been fixed, but I have no real confirmation of that. But if they still are going to include, like, the glitches, like the missing no glitch, and then the ability to, like, force an encounter with Mew. And if that's the case, there's going to be Mews aplenty if the Mew glitches from Red and Blue is still going to be in there and you can trade it up.
Although people could have got one recently with the February distribution of it, which sadly now has passed, so you cannot get a Mew distribution anymore. But
by the way, if anyone here hasn't heard of that, you should definitely look into that, because there's a big schedule for that. Celebi is next month, and it's going all the way into December, so definitely do that. God
is among them, by the way, at some point, so you can get God at some point.
Yep. I guess that about wraps it up, right?
It does, yeah. Seems like we've covered all the points.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're pretty excited about, the potential of these games and seeing what they have to offer. And hopefully you guys are as well. If you want to leave your thoughts or opinions in the comments, feel free. But yeah, I guess that does it for us. I've been Mysti.
I'm Ryan.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.
We'll be right back.